Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Factory Fiction. Today it's a build reveal day. Stay tuned on today's episode. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Big day for the channel. It's build announcement day. I have the build sheet here, which we're totally gonna go over. Before we get to that, I would love to just talk to you guys for a minute about how much it means to me that you guys support the channel. I know you have a lot of options, viewing options, content creators and stuff to choose to spend your time watching and supporting, and I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys a samurai bow for going ahead and clicking that subscribe button and liking the videos and sharing with your people, because I feel like we're doing something a lot different here at Factory Fiction than a lot of the other car build channels. The idea of Factory Fiction kind of came, I've always had a passion for cars. I've built several cars. I've worked in the auto industry for a really long time, but I've just always gravitated toward cars that were less accessible to build. So cars that don't really have as much aftermarket support as a lot of more mainstream builds. Like, let's compare it to like an 8.6 platform or a WRX, or anything that's Honda related or that kind of deal. So I've always loved wagons. I like SUVs that are slammed, obviously. But yeah, I've always gravitated toward those builds, and the idea of Factory Fiction kind of came from that and my passion for modified cars, and that's why our tagline is "We Are Modified Culture," because really Factory Fiction is the embodiment of the modified community. And if you couldn't buy it from the dealership how you wanted it, that literally is the definition of Factory Fiction. So we really try to support all builds, all modifications, even if it's not to my own taste. Like, I support people that see a vision, stay true to their vision, and build their car for themselves. Now, like I said, some style may not match up with what my personal likes are, but it's not my car. So really, guys, we just need to start to support more of a positive culture in the car community. And at Factory Fiction, we are modified culture, and we're all about the culture. Another thing I want to talk to you guys about is how Factory Fiction is structured. So obviously behind me you can see Factory Fiction Media. I am a car photographer. I would love to start getting into videography. I do have a gimbal. I honestly have never even used it yet. We've been so busy with the build, and it's so schedule intensive, which is also another thing we need to talk about before we get into the build list. However, let's keep going with Factory Fiction. So there's Factory Fiction Media, which is my car photography, videography. I also do ad placements. I'm a graphic designer by trade. I also wrap cars, so I've held jobs in those industries, and so sometimes we'll take photography and we'll actually make it into print ads, stuff like that. So that's an option. If you guys need any of that, you can feel free to DM me, hit me up on Instagram. We got lots of stuff posted up on there. But then there's also Factory Fiction Auto Design, which is where our build is based around, and it's got a lot more to do here with the YouTube channel and our builds. So the aspect of Factory Fiction Auto Design is really the whole idea with our builds. And I'm not gonna tell you guys that every build that we do on the channel here is gonna be like this, But this particular build truly is, I want people to walk by it and think that it could have been an OEM product. So a lot of thought and a lot of details went into this build that we're going to talk about today, to really make it think when people see it on the street, if this was a model that was just so rare that they didn't hear about it. So that's super cool, and we've really tried to stay true to the vision on that. We also have Factory Fiction apparel, which, if you guys can see this is one of our shirts. We Heart SUVs, slammed utility vehicles, and then we got like a little hit on the nape. But we also do hats, that kind of stuff. You guys have probably seen me in the first video with one of our mesh trucker flat bills. And you guys can hit me up on Instagram, DM me if you're interested in any of those products. But all that stuff goes to support the channel. Not trying to get rich off of any of this stuff. It literally is going back into the build and back into the YouTube channel to create more cool content for you guys. Okay, so the moment you guys have all been waiting for, what car are we going to build? The inaugural build of Factory Fiction YouTube channel, Factory Fiction Auto Design Representation. And I think it's gonna surprise a lot of you guys. We are going to build a Ford Flex. Now, like I said, I think that totally embodies the idea of Factory Fiction and taking the road less traveled. A lot of aspects of this build are one-off. We couldn't find a lot of parts that we wanted to put on this thing, so we literally just had to make them. And I think that's kind of a cool thing about this build. So we are going to go over the build sheet. Now, I've actually owned the Flex for a few years, and I had this idea when I bought it. I didn't know if I was actually going to end up building it to this point, but we'll go ahead and throw up a picture of the Flex. I had it wrapped, I had wheels on it, and that was pretty much it. And we were cool with it for there. And you guys can see from the picture here, it turned out great. The wrap on it was great. People loved looking at the Flex, loved riding in the Flex, the amenities, the luxuriousness of the Flex, and just everything that it incorporates, I thought was a great place to start for a build, and I thought it'd be super unique. So I've been involved in the Flex community for a while, and there's probably a handful of Flexes that are built to what I would say is like a full build, and they're pretty cool. Couple on air, a couple that are solely performance upgraded, stuff like that. But really, we wanted to encompass everything. We wanted this, and I've referred to this as a SEMA style build, and I've gotten a lot of flack for it because a lot of people want to correct me and say, you know, have you been to SEMA? A lot of SEMA builds are thrown together in the last week, and they're not very good quality. Well, that's the idea when you're talking to somebody in conversation and you say, I'm doing a SEMA build. I think that kind of incorporates what we're doing. It's a full everything, gut the car, rebuild it how you want it to. So that's what I mean by SEMA build, okay? So we're not getting too politically correct, incorrect with what the phrase SEMA build means. But that's what we're doing. So let's go ahead and go over the build sheet. And let's get into it. So we're gonna save the render for the end. Here's what I'm gonna go over now. Let's talk about. So it's currently April. We've been working on the car since December. Okay, and a lot of things have happened. I'm getting some help from buddies behind the scenes, and obviously build partners that I'm working with, as far as the guys down at Crafted with the interior, my painter, Bag Barn up in BC is doing the suspension work on it. But aside from those things, like really I'm primarily doing like 95% of the work on this car, and it's just been really overwhelming. I don't know if you guys have tried to build a car to this magnitude before, but like I said, it's really overwhelming. It's a daily struggle to keep the schedule in mind and keep the build moving and keeping track of everything that needs to be done when, before it goes to who, and who's building the car, who's doing their portion, at what point, who needs the physical car there to do their portion. So it's really been a crazy amount of time. So when we started, I did start shooting YouTube videos. Now, as we release them, they won't be out of order. They should be in chronological order, but the first videos we started to build, I think we started working on the bumper, and that was, I mean, there's snow on the ground, it's winter. So just expect that and understand that we shot the videos when we started the build, but the build has been ongoing and we needed YouTube to catch up. So we just needed a break in the schedule. Like, the car is currently gone right now. It's down at Chris Janet Racing. So I had like a couple days to catch up here. So that's why we're shooting this. We're gonna let you guys know, and I promise I'm gonna show you the rendering at the end of the video, so stay tuned with that. But let's go ahead and get into the build. So the picture I showed you guys, it was wrapped. I wrapped it with Avery Roaring Thunder, so it's a really cool color change, color flip wrap. That's gone. The base color of the car is white. So at the time of filming this video, the car is stripped. The only thing that's left in the interior right now is the driver's seat, the steering wheel. I plugged the cluster back in so that we could, I'd know how fast I was going when I was transporting, and I knew my turn signals and lights were working. As far as the exterior, I had to throw the headlights and the taillights back in it to drive it, and we basically zip tied the license plates on the front and the rear to be street legal, but no actual plastic bumpers on the car. It's just the metal impact bumpers. So it looks pretty crazy. So let's break it down. So like I told you guys, the whole idea of this car is for people to think. So let me back up for a second. So the car is a Ford Flex Limited. So it's as loaded as you can get a Ford Flex. I'll kind of tell you guys about it. It's got heated and cooled leather seats. The second row has buckets, and they are also heated. They're not cooled, but there is a cooler slash freezer in the second row in between the seats, which was a cool option. But the second row folds up. Third row is a power third row seat, which stoves into the floor. It basically has everything but a heated steering wheel. So I thought it was a great platform to start with. I knew where I wanted to go with it, and this is where we're gonna go with it. We're basically gonna turn a Ford Flex Limited into a Ford Flex RS. So we took tons of styling cues and ideas from a Focus RS. So we're literally dubbing this build the FFRS. Now, a lot of people have asked me, is that Factory Fiction RS or Ford Flex RS? Or now the actual, for us, it's Factory Fiction Rally Sport. It does also work out that it could be Ford Flex Rally Sport. But yeah, so that's what we're dubbing it, the FFRS build. But that's the point. We want people to walk by this thing when they see it at shows and think, did Ford make a Flex RS? Like, is this something that actually happened and there were just so few of them, nobody's seen them, blah, blah, blah. So let's get back to the build. We're gonna start with the exterior. Like I said, factory color is white. So that's where it's at right now, white with a black top. So we're painting the car. Now I do wrap, and we were thinking about wrapping it, but just the magnitude and the amount of time and money and energy that's been put into the build, we really decided that the build deserved paint. So we did a custom mix of Ford nitrous blue paint with the custom is the amount of pearl that we're putting into it. So it's not an exact one-to-one from what a Focus RS nitrous blue would be, but I mean, looking side to side, they're gonna basically look exactly the same. We just kind of are tweaking the amount of pearl that we want put in it. And we're doing something really cool. So I'm gonna try to give you the general points of the build, but I wanna save kind of special tweaks that we're doing. So we're painting it in a custom way and a way that's gonna help me later on. So, but anyway, exterior is gonna be custom mix of Ford Nitrous Blue. The rear bumper needed a lot of help. The factory flex bumper, I had a tow package, which I'm never gonna tow anything with this car. I'm not a boat owner. We don't own ATVs, and I'm just never gonna tow anything. So we're gonna go ahead and get rid of that. But the idea when we did that was the rear bumper for the flex, they all have, whether they have a tow package or not, they have a big kind of square shaped cutout in the bottom in case you wanted to later add it, and it's just super ugly. So when you guys end up seeing the rendering, you'll see what we did. Now on the rendering, we did use a Focus RS rear diffuser that we were gonna splice in. Later did we find out that it's just way too narrow. So we ended up using a different one, which we totally go over in the bumper surgery videos series. Okay, so you guys are gonna see exactly what happened with that. We are gonna badge it up with RS badges, which, do I have any sitting here? No, I thought I did, but I don't. So we're gonna badge it with RS. And then the taillights. So the taillights on the Flex, they're very strange. So, cause we have a limited, it has LED taillights with chrome housings, and within the lens there's like a gray border that even if you bake them open and paint the interiors black, which I actually did, but what I ended up doing was swapping another guy. He took my black taillights and I started with his stock LED limited taillights, which is what I want, because we're gonna go ahead and red them out. And that's totally inspired from the Focus RS. Like I said, there were certain things that I really debated on going back and forth. Do I want to do more of a custom look, or do we really need to stay true to an OEM look with this? And that's, I mean, that won 9 times out of 10. There are a couple of things that I think we did just to make it ours, but really looking at it, like, we really wanted it to have that factory look. On the interior, like I told you guys already, it's really well appointed. The thing where I think it really suffers is the seats are very flat. There is absolutely no edge on the seats. So even when I'm getting on an on-ramp or an off-ramp on the freeway, I mean, you sliding around in those things. So we partnered with Crafted, Northwest Crafted. Scott and Jordan down there, they're touching everything on the interior. They're bolstering the front seats and the second row of seats. They have to do the second row a little more conservatively because the second row completely folds in half so that we can gain access to the third row. But the idea is to basically, they're bolstering and custom recovering the seats to emulate the look of Focus RS Recaro seats. We're using a combination of black leather, black suede, blue stitching, really a lot of inspiration from the Focus RS. So that's where we're going with that. A cool thing that I did with all the interior plastics. Now, I have a wife and kids. This is my daily driver. After we finish building this car, this is 100% still going to be my daily driver and my family car. And because I have kids, you know, they scuff stuff, they kick stuff. So when we were gutting it, the interior plastics had a lot of mars, deep scratches, scuffs like that. So what we wanted to do was refinish those. Now we thought if we refinished those traditionally, just repainted them, scuffed them, repainted them, we thought they would get scuffed again. We could also have just replace them with all new factory panels. Crazy expensive to do that. So after a lot of deliberation, what we ended up choosing was bed liner. And I did that myself, and we will have a video of that. That's actually already been done. It looks freaking awesome. So I think in a combination of that, it really is gonna make for awesome daily durability of having a family and a daily driver, because we don't have to worry about scuffing plastic, stuff like that. So I think a combination of that, and then the leather and suede and blue, it's really gonna elevate the interior and make it look really rugged but sporty and luxurious at the same time. I'm also adding a custom automatic shift knob from Barton Industries. Now they look really factory. They even have like the shift sequence on the top of the shifter, but it almost emulates a manual shift knob, but it overrides the trigger click to shift, and that's super cool. We'll go over that too. And then I'm making custom Flex RS floor mats. So also have videos about that. You guys can do that. Make applications for your own car. It's super cool, super cool. So, all right, let's move on to the performance. So a Flex Limited came with the 3.5 liter twin turbo EcoBoost, and it also has all-wheel drive. So that's another reason why we went to Flex RS, what the model stands for this. Because if that's what Ford would have made, I truly believe that would have been the platform that they would have used. Would have been turbo, would have been all-wheel drive. So we're right on top of it there. And honestly, I think stock horsepower on the Flex Limited was right around 360. And really, man, for how big and heavy the car is, it's no slouch. Like I did a vent to atmosphere mod on it so far, so you can actually hear the blow off. And I surprise a lot of people, just even driving around daily-ish. I always get funny looks when people hear the blow off on that, because they never expect it. But that's where we're started, and we're not going crazy for performance. This is, like I said, this is still my daily driver. We still want people to look at it, pop the hood, see what we did, and kind of not see what we did. So we partnered with Gearhead Sales out of Texas, and they recently came out with an intercooler upgrade that's posting great numbers for the 3.5. So the SHO and the Flex platform. So we got one of those. We also got a 3-bar mass airflow sensor, 170 degree thermostat. We did, they pre-gapped some new Iridium plugs, sent them with it. We're also partnering with Eco Power Parts. They're also an EcoBoost specific aftermarket parts company. Check them out, EcoBoost, ecopowerparts.com, sorry. And they recently came out with a transverse intake system for that platform. So we grabbed that, and they also make hot pipes. The configuration we chose for that was we're gonna maintain the factory blow-off valves, just so we're not throwing codes. We're not changing anything too much. When you look under the hood, like, it's really gonna look stock but upgraded. So we went with I might save the finish that we went with for an unboxing video. But so all new piping basically under the hood. It's gonna look super clean and super nice. The transverse intake is super cool looking. It's basically individual intake pipes from each turbo that feeds into one giant air filter. But obviously we'll show you guys that when we go, or when it comes in. We also are doing a tune, which Gearhead is taking care of us. Matt Robinson down at Gearhead is totally gonna head up the Flex RS tune specifically for this, and we're gonna use an SCT Livewire TS tuner, which I have sitting over here already, ready to go. And then Chris Janert Racing, which we dropped the car, that's where the car is now. He is doing custom catless downpipes and exhausts. And I'm gonna keep the exhaust a little bit of a secret because there's something super cool that he's doing with the exhaust right now. Okay, let's move on. All right, guys, so for wheels, tires, and brakes, the wheels is kind of a tough thing because everybody's like, oh, you want, sweet, 3-piece wheels, forged wheels, blah, blah, blah. So one thing we kind of ran into was sourcing wheels. So this was one of the struggles for staying with that OEM quality look versus our want for like super sick wheels. I'm sure you guys can relate, and the size made a difference. So in the picture that I posted earlier of my car wrapped, the wheels I had on there were 22 by 9s, and I love this size. We were running a 265/40 22 wheel on, or tire on those, and ride on them was great. I didn't have any kind of lowering on it, so it still sat a little high, but honestly, ride quality and handling was great. I was really happy with them, but they definitely didn't look stock. So I searched high and low, and I finally found a manufacturer that basically made us a set of wheels that were unbranded. So they're basically a set of wheels for us, and they're alloys, they're not forged, they're nothing crazy. We got exactly the style we were looking for, and the size is 22 by 8 1/5 with a 40 offset. So I mean, they're very, very conservative. They're not crazy aggressive. They have a very slight concave on them, which is in the rendering. The wheels are exactly what they are in the rendering. But those are Flex RS wheels. We sourced those ourselves. We got them for ourselves. We custom center caps for them. So essentially those are Ford Flex RS wheels in a 22 by 8 1/2 plus 40. Tire wise, we went with Continental Extreme Contact DW SO6s, and I went slightly down in the tire size to get a little more aggressive. So we went with a 265/35 22 instead of the 265/40 that we were running before. And then brakes. The Limited had the Ford HD brake upgrade, which is the same brakes that the Police Interceptor package has. So they're actually decently sized. They're not terrible brakes. They're just super ugly. And since we're not tracking this car, we don't need crazy stopping power or anything like that, but it definitely wasn't gonna have that look. And like you guys said, it's all about the details. So we ended up getting a set of CTSV Brembo brakes, and we completely refinished them. Those are already done. Those are actually those are down with Chris Janner also. They're taking care of that while they're there for the exhaust. They're making custom brackets to make those work. Super cool. We already refinished the brakes. They look amazing. I will maybe flash a little picture of them because I do have pictures of them up there. So they are essentially one-off brake setup. So let's move on to suspension. Suspension, we're going full air ride. Now I know that wouldn't be a factory OEM thing, but please consider, you guys, I'm 34 years old, I have a wife, I have 2 kids. I'm all about that low life, but trying to stay static when, especially where we live. We live in Washington. There's literally speed bumps every 5 feet. So I had a set of coilovers for the car that I had intended to put it on, and I was like, you know what, it's just not gonna be what I need. It's not gonna be my daily drivability, functionality, being able to ride low while being able to get in and out of steep driveways, which are everywhere here. So that's what we went. We went with a custom set of air struts, which we're still waiting on. But the boys up at Bag Barn up in BC, Canada, Vancouver, are doing the full install, and they're doing the full air ride setup, which we'll definitely talk more about. But that's kind of essentially where we're at. There'll be a little more detail oriented things that we can totally get into and we'll get into video wise. But that is pretty much the build sheet, you guys. And honestly, I had to type this completely out because we've been applying for some shows. So as of right now, the shows that the Flex RS will be at are Hot Import Night Seattle, which is on June 22nd. We will also be at Stance Wars Seattle, July 13th. And we will also be at WECFest Seattle, July 14th. So that's going to be a super busy weekend. So we got Stance Wars on that Saturday, July 13th. And then the very next day we have WECFest in Seattle. So yeah, it's going to be crazy. I'm sure we'll add more dates to that as the season progresses and as we kind of finish up the build. But as of right now, you guys, we're we're just under 2 months for build completion. So just trying to shove this amount of work into 6 months or less has just been so unbelievably taxing. So the moment you've all been waiting for, let's cue the rendering shot. But I really appreciate you guys' support. This is build number 1 for Factory Fiction Auto Designs and the channel. So please, please, please subscribe, hit the bell so you guys stay up to date on new videos, and like, share, comment. Let's build a community, you guys. Appreciate your support. One more samurai bow to you.